Hello, and welcome to my show, The Thriving Woman. I am your host, Carmel Austin.
Monday, another week, I can't believe I'm counting down the minutes till it's Tuesday. Another day back on.
I will be sharing keys to help you form healthy hearts and boundaries. I'll see you in the show. Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Thriving Woman. We are now starting out season 3, and I am just so thrilled that I have my dear friend Annemarie Cross with me today. Welcome, Annemarie, to my show.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful invitation, Carmel. It's great to be here too.
Yes, and folks, it's been a journey. We finished off season 2 with all of my beautiful authors from my book, The Artist Haven. And, I still probably will have some of my authors come on in season 3 as well. But today we are just starting out on a new foot. I feel that, what we're doing is I've invited amazing friends and leaders from around the world to share with me on my platform. So today we're going to be talking about moving into kingdom authority, moving into that place where we're looking after our health, we're looking after our families, we're looking after our God-given gifts that we have been given. And we're talking about all things that come from Mother Earth. And we know that it comes from God who created us. So today, as I've got to know Annemarie's actually become one of my mentors, and she is the podcasting queen. So, over the last few months, Annemarie has been helping me with courses that I am planning and different things about getting my message right. And so Annemarie is multi-talented. But over the next times that Annemarie and I will be sharing on season 3, we're going to be talking about plants and the beauty of creation and all the healing properties that are in plants. And for me, I love essential oils, and I know Annemarie loves them as well, because when we've had our chats, she's got her essential oils happening. I've got my essential oils happening. I put them on, take a lovely breath and say, thank you, God. Thank you for these beautiful oils that have come from plants and all the beauty of that. And I know with Annemarie as well, she's been growing things in her garden. She has been creating things. She's really getting into that whole lifestyle, that whole holistic lifestyle. So Annemarie, share a little bit with my audience, please, about that journey and how that has happened with you and how you are finding that is really helping with your health and who you are today.
Oh, well, thank you for the opportunity. And, if I think back to essential oils, because I know, as you mentioned in this introduction, that you are passionate about essential oils and the benefits that it has. If I think back many years, and my kids are now, goodness, the youngest will be 30 next year, I've been using essential oils even when they were babies, because I realized that they had incredible properties within them to help my children, whether they were teething, whether they had sore ears in the middle of the night, whether they couldn't sleep. So I've been been using, and I'd been doing more research and learning about the incredible benefits of essential oils. But then fast forward till a couple of years ago, I started gardening, and I can't remember what inspired me, but we started off buying very inexpensive plastic, you've got those green plastic hothouses. And I started that off, bought some seedlings from the market gardens, and had so much fun. And not only are they beneficial for you, to eat, but it's a lot of fun and relaxation going out there and gardening and getting your hands in the soil. And then that greenhouse, which we called it, that plastic one, turned into a solid structure, more of a hothouse. And then I started thinking, well, I can grow, fun things, vegetables and salads and things like that. What about herbs? And then I started looking more into the herbs and the medicinal properties, and I invested in a course on blending herbal teas. And the more I learned about it, the more I realized, oh my goodness, there is such benefits. We know the benefits of oregano and, say, peppermint and thyme in our meals, for culinary reasonings, but they are just so much more. And I'm only scratching the surface with what I've learned, but it's now gone through to having a entire pantry full of dried, not that I've grown all of these, but I've actually gone out and purchased into organic herbs, which we now blend for different teas, even making tinctures and decoctions and all sorts of wonderful things, and creams and balms and salves, because God knew what he was doing when he created these incredible medicinal plants. Yes, for eating, but also medicinal. And as you said, thank the Lord for doing that. He knew what was good for us. And I encourage people, look up, read what you can. It's so simple to grow, in your backyard, and then drying them out and then blending them in teas and other different things that you can use for your family.
So, as you can hear and see, folks, Annemarie has been on this amazing journey. And when I started out really getting into essential oils 7, 8 years ago, I had a lot of people who were like, oh, that's witchcraft. And it's like, no, I'm an alchemist. And I like to get my oils, make my products. I like to blend the oils that work for my body. I actually have an iTovi machine, which I need to dig out, and it will tell you what oils your body needs. It works like a Fitbit. And so, but over the time, a lot of people are like, you've become the expert in oils. And it's because, when I find something, because particularly for me, I'm very allergic to this age of chemicals and putting anything on my body that, for women can put up to 2,000 chemicals on their body a day, with the underarm they use, with the face creams they use, with the hair colors they use, with the body creams they use. And then we're touching plastics with the foods we buy and our cooking equipments. There's so many things that, because we live in such a commercial world here in the Western world in Australia, for those of you who may be listening live on the radio network, it could be a totally different story for you. You could just live with a simple kitchen, and you have dirt. And you know what, when we talk about dirt, when I love getting into my garden, and I said to my husband, let's grow some things, and he said, seeds don't seem to grow in our garden. We need to go buy some plants. And I love to go out there and pick my parsley and have my mint and my shallots, because having my Italian heritage, you've got to have those for your food. But, with my oils too, I use my oregano in my cooking because it's safe for that. And I use my basil in my cooking. So they're the things that, I go to when I'm using for my cooking. And not all oils are safe. And Annemarie would know that and share that as well. But what I've really learned for me is that oils are so safe when you find the good quality or the things that you grow. You're not adding chemicals to it. So I make my own deodorants. I make my own body creams as well. And I, go to the hairdresser and pay more money for color that is not toxic, that it's going to go into my body. And the more that I'm putting those self-care habits into place, I sleep better, I function better, I don't explode as much. Some of you might look at me and say, she's got blue glasses on, or if you're listening, you think, oh, why do people wear different colored glasses? Well, I suffer with a dyslexia as well as Erlen deficiency. So my brain works very differently to other people. So I've had to overcome a lot of things in my day. So when I actually started to find an oil that nourished my body, or plants that were nourishing my body, I just came alive. And people were asking me, Carmel, what are you doing? You look so well, and I've had a lot of health issues in my day. So, I really want to encourage my audience that it's really good to get out in the dirt as well. Take your shoes off, go and walk in the dirt, in the grass, walk on the beach. I love getting into that dirt and pulling out the weeds and getting the garden ready to be able to plant something else. And, these days I don't have a lot of time, so I really admire Annemarie when she posts all these beautiful products that's coming out of her garden. And look, over the years, we have done that. And I think, for us, if we buy some plants and I get out there and nurture them, they'll have more of a success to survive, because there's nothing better than bringing in some beans or tomatoes or snow peas and adding them into your cooking, and then knowing, the benefits, like Annemarie was saying about different teas that can really just nourish your body and who you are. So Annemarie, over your journey, because I know, you're the podcast queen and you help so many people with their podcast shows. So it's a real honor to just have you on, on my show, and to be sharing about so much of your expertise. But I particularly asked you to chat about, these wonderful things, these plants that God has given us. And so many people don't understand that they call them weeds, but really a lot of them have so many healing properties. Can you share one or two, plants that you've really found that really help you and that you could share with my audience that they could do that would be something simple for them?
Happy to do that. But one thing I will say first, let's talk about this, is this is something that you said earlier, and we need to be very mindful that we are not calling something which is created by God himself, the creator of all things, and calling it witchcraft, that his creation, the plants. Now, I must say there are some people who are using it, unfortunately, in a very incorrect way. And yes, using it for witchcraft. However, we're talking about using the very things that God created and praising him for the fact that he created it, because we want to make sure too that we're not putting his creation before the creator. And we need to do that not just for the plants, but for all of the other things as well. We always go back to the Lord, and he is the creator. And we are so thankful that we have that available to us, which he knew were good for us. And so, you talked about weeds, and one of the biggest things that was such an eye-opener for me, Carmel, was around dandelion. I had no idea that the dandelion that we call a weed, and I think we've even got a whole array of poisons that, thank you very much, no thank you, that poisons dandelion, from the roots to the leaves to the flowers. Every single piece of that plant has got medicinal properties. Now, I must say, I have not used dandelion as much as I can, but I know now is a season where we can go and plant it. And I was so excited because I left some plants, dandelion plants, to grow over the last month or so. So I have been able to harvest some roots, which have been washed and are now drying out. And we've got an area in our hothouse where my husband is going to update. We're going to do some garden beds within the hothouse so I can see if I can grow things during winter. But there's this beautiful dandelion plant. So my instructions to him before I came on was, you need to remove all of the dirt around that and get as much of the root and then put it aside, because I want to harvest that, because you can eat it. I want to see how many roots that is there. So just be mindful, some of the things that you think are weeds, when you have a look at research material, and there has been significant research. I can't remember the book that I have just purchased, but it's a gentleman who has been involved, I think, for over 40 years within the area of herbal, holistic medicines, because they really are medicine. They're not a synthetic drug, which Western society, which we're used to through hospitals and doctors. And so these are real medicines. And so he's got research that's backed up by scientists who have looked at these medicinal plants. And I think what's often happened in the pharmaceutical industry, they look at different areas of how plants work and they make a synthetic version. That's my understanding of it. But, I do want to also say one of the reasons why I've gotten into this even further is my husband has been ill about, goodness, 14 months or so ago. He came down with something and we did not know what it was. And he went to the doctor several times. He's been in hospital several times. They did every single test under the sun. He was there for 9 days and they just could not find anything wrong with him. And they wanted to put him on mental health drugs, because they thought, look, mate, it's got to be in your mind. So eventually, and this was a God destined meeting. We were at the Dandenong market, which we love going every weekend. And I happened to be sitting down and randomly this gentleman came up to me and said, hey, do you mind if I sit down? I thought, no, that's fine. We got to talking, long story short, his niece, stepdaughter, was a naturopath. And he said, you really need to go and talk to her. So we did. My husband went to see her. And within the first testing that she got him to do, she realized that he had mercury poisoning, heavy metals poisoning. And the levels of mercury and silver and other heavy metals, but particularly mercury, was so high it was off the charts. They've never seen anyone with such high levels. Yet none of the doctors, none of the tests could show this, because they don't test for that. They often test for cause, not symptom, but holistic medicine looks at the cause. And so he's been going through treatment to rid his body. We're still in that process, but we realized that the fillings that he had in his teeth, those lovely fillings that many of us have, actually bleached into his body, and he had to have those all removed. But he's doing all sorts of different things, from now filtering our water. We don't just drink normal water out of the tap. It goes through the filter. We need to do as much organic food as we have. We have to remove a lot of the toxins that you were talked about in the powder that he uses. In everything, it's in everything, those different things. And it's interesting because we've spoken to a number of doctors, and the doctors just say, yeah, but there's metal in everything. There's heavy metals, mercury and everything. And to me, it's like, and you're not concerned, because they say, but it's only in little, little portions. But I would say, look, why are we introducing that into, through our foods, through fillings, through all of those things? And it depends on who you talk to. Some dentists don't even recognize that that's, so there's a lot of information, and I would say disinformation around the beautiful herbs and medicinal properties. And that's why we've gone full steam ahead with that, to the point that, everything that we're doing is holistic through naturopathy and all of those things. And my daughter's just gotten into it too. So we all have 3 boxes in our special, herbal medicine area, and each of them have different things that they need to take, but it's far gentler on the body. And anyway, she's now drinking all of my teas too, which is wonderful. So, there's some really incredible go-tos that I've been told about, and that are so simple to grow. For instance, the mints. Peppermint, very easy to grow, wonderful as a tea. I'm sure you use peppermint essential oils as well within roll-ons and things like that. That's great for headaches and things like that, aren't they? Lots of different medicinal properties. What other ones do we use a lot? Oh, one of my favorite flowers, but has wonderful medicinal properties, is calendula. Calendula. Now you can grow that in the garden, and you know what? It self-seeds and it continues to grow, because that's what God's creation does. It self-seeds and it continues to grow and give you this wonderful supply. So what I do with calendula oil, also, I just showed you one ways that I use it. So I dry out the flower. You can immerse it, if you will. You call it an infusion, in jojoba oil, and you leave that for about 4 to 6 weeks, and then you strain it out. Now that oil, that calendula oil, you can then mix with beeswax and lots of other beautiful things and make a salve, which is great for your skin, and lip balm and things like that. We're also using it on my husband's lymph nodes, because one of his lymph nodes, which we know the lymph nodes filters all of the different toxins and things in his body, and he happened to get a strain of glandular fever, so it's swollen. So what we're doing regularly is putting calendula oil and castor oil. Castor oil is another incredible oil. What else do I love? Well, my oreganos and my thymes, I drink that as a tea. Very good for the flu seasons that's coming off, to help with coughs and things like that. But I've got in front of me, because I print out things, I've got this wonderful little recipe, because I had a bit of a sore throat, and I thought, ooh, my body is telling me something. So I looked up my herbal blends of teas, and I've got this great one which I made, and I'm actually drinking it now. And so 1 part calendula, I mentioned calendula, a 1/3 part peppermint, and an 1/8 part sage, because what that blend does, calendula helps with wound healing, so inside of the mouth. The peppermint, I've added flavor, but it's also calming. It's a decongestant. It's antibacterial. It's antiviral. It acts as a lesser stimulant, and the sage has an affinity for the throat and is a stimulant. It provides astringency and an antiseptic for mouth health. So bottoms up as I look after my throat and my mouth. I mean, seriously, this is just so good, and it's exciting. It's just like a medicine cabinet out in your garden, but that you can bring inside. And oh, I've got a bit of a headache. Oh, I'm going to have some feverfew, and I'll add a bit of this and a bit of that as well. I mean, how can you not get more excited than that, knowing that it's at your fingertips and it's good for you? It nourishes your body.
And Annemarie, I'm excited that you've gone that extra step and you're actually growing them and you've got your teas. For me personally, I love to get what is called On Guard, which has oregano and lemon and frankincense. If I start to get a bit of a sore throat, I roll my rollers around here and it just sinks in and helps. And I make up honey and I put different oils. I put cardamom and lemon and different things, and I'll have that in water or a little bit of honey, and it just soothes your throat. So these are all the oils that are made out of plants, And so, for me, I have a go-to oil, because if I get any tummy aches, or really if you're just processing, because life's so busy, I use, Digest Zen for that. And then I have my go-to oil, which is great for my hormones, with different oils in there, a balance oil. So there's so many things that we have for us. But, when you were talking about your husband, Annemarie, because I know that you haven't shared a lot, you just said that you've been going down this health journey. For about 7 years now, I've been using a product, Demacious Earth, which is fossil shell flour, and it clears out all those things, the leads in your body. It helps with all of that. So, when I first started it, I had to ease into it because my body's so sensitive. And then now, a couple of times a week now, I'll get a teaspoon of it, mix it through some milk in the morning. You always have to use a plastic spoon, and I'll drink it down. And it's like a barrier meal where it cleans everything out of your system, and it will get rid of heavy metals. It will get rid of all of those things with all the different things in it. I was buying it.
I'm going to have to get that a link.
Yes, I was buying it from a gentleman in Queensland, and his was very pure. But when the season of when the world was in lockdown because of sickness, he closed his business down, which was a real shame because I used to buy it, and then I had friends who regularly brought it. It gives you energy. It does so many things for you, and it's really good quality.
In our body,
yeah, it gets rid of your toxins. Yeah, absolutely.
Body's ability to
do it itself. That's right. To be able to do that. So, folks, there are so many things. You can buy it online. You can go to your local chemists. Not chemists, sorry. You can go to your local health food stores and see whether they're stocking it. So, there's so many things. I know Annemarie and I have talked about CBD oil as well, and the benefits of that. There's calming benefits, there's healing benefits. There's so many things that we have here, particularly in the Western world, but I'm sure for those who don't live in the Western world, you have the plants. So, it's exciting to hear that you can get out and you can get these things growing. And I know for me, one of the reasons why I love the essential oils too is that we are supporting people in those nations who grow those plants, and it's giving those people from poorer nations a income. And how blessed am I that I can open up, a bottle of oil and know that, it's gone through that refining process. And I love cardamom. I love the smell of it. I love the healing properties of it. There's so many different oils too that I use when that I put on here, because I tend to have, a lot of people think I get, I had not glandular fever, but swollen glands. So, we could talk and talk and talk about all of these things. And what's great about it is, as this series go on, I will have Annemarie back on again, and we will be talking again about all things health and about the amazing plants that God has created. So, folks, thank you for joining this live broadcast, and I am excited again to bring Annemarie on, and not just Annemarie, other amazing friends around the world who are co-hosting with me on season 3 of The Thriving Woman. And, as I go along, you might recognize in the background, I've got lots of artwork and I've got books. I've just had the pleasure last year of producing my own book, which made me number 3 international best-selling author. And I've now got applications open for people to join number 4, Courageous Voices Unlocked. So in the links, folks, we'll have things on offer for you to go to. We'll have details as well for you to connect with Annemarie as the podcast queen. And as we chat more along the way with all things natural, all things that God has created, I hope you're going to get excited about the tips and the tricks and all the things that we have learned in life. I know if I get up in the middle of the night and I can't sleep, I put on some lavender, or I put some easy air on my chest, which is something other than Vicks, because Vicks is made from chemicals. So to rub that on and put something natural on my lips when, my throat's feeling a bit dry, and I can go back to sleep and I've used something natural. So, we could talk for hours, but that's why I'm going to invite Annemarie back on again. So folks, Annemarie, just share a little bit more too about your business and with people who would like to maybe connect with you about working with you.
Oh, look, thank you for the opportunity. I'll keep it very brief so people can go and check out your resources and mine if they want to do that. So as you mentioned earlier, we've been working together and helping you create an incredible message around the incredible work that you do. So if a business is struggling to stand out, to be heard, they do feel like the world's best kept secret, and they know that they have the solution and the answer to support their ideal clients in achieving the unachievable, then that is an area that I love to support people with. Or if they do have a message that's working and they think, look, if I could get this out into the world in a much bigger way and start my own podcast, but I don't know where to start, and I want to make sure that my podcast is working for me, building community of my ideal clients and continuing to nurture listeners into leads. That's really where I love to work those two areas and blend it together. So just reach out at either podcastingwithpurpose.com or annemariecross.com. Either of those resources will provide more links, some free resources there for people to access as well. That's the best way for them to connect.
And thank you, Annemarie. And you know what, folks? I have this amazing quiz that I have created through Annemarie's amazing mentorship. And I do some personal coaching. I do book coaching, writing, so many different things. So that will be in the links as well with my offerings for you to connect into. So for now, I'm going to say I will see you in another podcast of The Thriving Woman. God bless and have a wonderful day.